the trash in your backyard could become the most beautiful part of your garden. In today's video on Nest Nature, we'll explore inspiring DIY trash garden ideas, simple, creative ways to transform discarded items into borders, patios, and colorful accents. This video comes with clear timestamps so you can jump to the ideas you need most. If questions come up, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if something sparks your imagination, don't just watch, try it, shape it, make it your own. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story, and a real family. This isn't just a video, it's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you hit that button, you're not just helping a creator grow, you're helping a dream stay alive. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. In the quiet charm of a tiny yard, even the simplest materials can breathe new life into the garden. Along a narrow path, milk cans once forgotten are now reborn, lined gracefully as rustic borders. Each can has been painted with care: lavender, sage green, rustic red, and cream, turning what was once metal waste into an elegant accent for the cottage garden. Their presence feels humble yet striking, a perfect balance between farmhouse practicality and artistic flair. The cans stand like gentle guardians, guiding the way through beds of marigolds, chrysanthemums, and asters. Their vibrant blooms spill over in shades of orange, yellow, and violet, harmonizing with the freshly painted borders. It is a marriage of color and texture, the matte tones of the cans against the lively petals of fall perennials, creating a scene that feels both intentional and effortless. This border does more than frame a pathway. It tells a story of transformation, where trash becomes treasure, where restraint meets creativity. Visitors stepping into the yard pause with surprise, drawn by the playful rhythm of painted metal and flowers dancing side by side. The scale remains intimate, perfectly suited for the small garden, making the space appear fuller, brighter, and endlessly inviting. As the late afternoon sun filters through, shadows stretch across the tiny yard, highlighting the subtle imperfections of the painted cans, the brush strokes, the layering of colors, the patina that adds character. They echo the rustic soul of the garden, imperfect, enduring, alive. And just beyond, a wooden chair waits beneath a white fence draped in ivy. Here, The garden feels like a personal retreat, a place where creativity blossoms alongside nature. With every glance, the border reminds us that beauty does not require wealth, only imagination. The milk cans stand resilient, blending history with hope, anchoring the garden in color and memory. In this tiny yard, the rustic milk can border becomes more than decoration. It becomes a frame for life itself, a quiet celebration of resourcefulness, of artistry, of the joy found in small spaces when we choose to see potential where others see waste. Patios are the heart of many small gardens, a place where mornings begin with tea, where evenings end in quiet reflection. In this little sanctuary, ordinary tin cans have been given a second life, painted in shades both lively and serene, then arranged to frame the patio with unexpected charm. The edge of the patio now sings with color. Turquoise and coral stand joyfully beside sunflower yellow and fresh white, echoing the blossoms that sway just behind them. Marigolds shine in golden tones, chrysanthemums bloom with dignity, and asters sprinkle the space with delicate violet. Each step onto the patio feels guided by these bright companions, their painted surfaces catching the light like cheerful accents. It is remarkable how such humble objects can elevate a space. Where once there was bare stone, now there is a living frame, a recycled border that speaks of ingenuity. The tin cans, carefully aligned, create a playful rhythm, a steady line that leads the eye along the patio's edge. Their modest height ensures the plants rise above, keeping balance between structure and softness. Visitors are often surprised by the effect. They expect clutter, yet they find harmony. They imagine trash, yet they discover treasure. The colors of the cans have been chosen thoughtfully, echoing farmhouse palettes or cottage pastels, so that the edging blends seamlessly with the garden's character. In autumn's cool light, the painted surfaces glow, reminding onlookers of a season filled with warmth despite the chill. A wrought iron chair sits in the corner, inviting rest. From here, the view is delightful, a garden alive with blooms, bordered by recycled artistry that tells a story of transformation. The border is not simply decoration, it is a conversation between human creativity and the cycles of nature. Every brushstroke on the cans, every plant that leans gently toward the border, is part of that story. This patio edging whispers of thrift, of care, of beauty in simplicity. It transforms the small patio into a vibrant retreat, a space that feels abundant and inspiring, no matter how modest its size. Here, upcycled tin cans become more than garden edging. They are proof that even the smallest spaces can bloom with imagination, turning the ordinary into the unforgettable. A front yard is often the first chapter of a home story, and in this farmhouse-inspired scene, the tale begins with recycled milk cans transformed into fence accents. Once discarded, they now stand proudly along a simple white fence, painted in hues that echo both nostalgia and freshness: barn red, sage green, cream, and sky blue. Their colors set the tone, welcoming, rustic, yet undeniably vibrant. Each can serve as a vessel of life, overflowing with blooms that spill gently against the fence. Marigolds brighten the air with bursts of gold and orange. Chrysanthemums offer their stately charm in deep autumn tones, while asters sprinkle purple across the display like delicate whispers. Together, flowers and painted metal create a visual rhythm that feels alive, weaving color and texture into a tapestry of joy. Neighbors passing by cannot help but pause. Some smile at the clever transformation, others linger, admiring how humble milk cans have become guardians of beauty at the gate. The fence no longer feels like a boundary but a bridge, an invitation to step closer, to share in the warmth of a home where creativity flourishes. The rustic character of the cans adds depth. Brush strokes remain visible, evidence of hands at work, of care taken to restore and renew. The imperfections are part of their charm, telling of a story where impermanence is embraced and beauty is found in resilience. Against the backdrop of climbing ivy and the softwood of the picket fence, the cans blend seamlessly into the cottage garden's heartbeat. As autumn winds rustle through, petals tremble but stand firm, just as the painted cans endure, weathering with grace. This fence edging does more than beautify a yard, it transforms space into a living gallery, where every glance is rewarded with detail and every detail whispers of imagination. In the farmhouse spirit, practicality meets artistry. What once carried milk now carries blossoms. What once lined barns now lines fences. And in the heart of the front yard, this recycled flower fence reminds us that even the simplest of objects can bloom again, giving both color to the garden and soul to the home. backyards often hold the quiet heart of a home, and here, a simple pathway has been transformed into a scene of rustic beauty with nothing more than recycled milk cans. Once forgotten in storage or bound for the trash, these sturdy vessels have been reborn as edging, lining the garden's path with cheerful resilience. Each can has been lovingly painted in colors that echo the season: pumpkin orange, mustard yellow, burgundy, and sage green. Together, they create a rhythm along the stone walkway, guiding steps through the backyard with playful warmth. The palette is both thrifty and artistic, turning a functional border into a celebration of autumn itself. As visitors follow the path, their eyes are drawn to the vibrant pairing of flowers and painted cans. Marigolds glow like tiny suns at ground level, asters sprinkle violet along the edges, and chrysanthemums bring richness to every glance. The cans do not overpower but instead complement the blooms, framing them as if each plant were part of a curated artwork. There is something profoundly inviting about this edging. It suggests resourcefulness, that beauty need not be costly. The cans, aligned with care, speak of hands that value transformation, that see potential in the overlooked. They embody a farmhouse spirit, where practicality and artistry merge seamlessly. In the late afternoon light, shadows from the cans stretch across the stones, soft yet defined. Their painted surfaces gleam gently, reminding all who walk by that even humble materials can shine when given purpose. A wooden bench waits at the end of the path, promising a moment of pause, a chance to take in the simple magic of the garden. This pathway edging does more than define borders. It creates movement, harmony, and a sense of belonging in the backyard. It is a reminder that a garden is not measured by its size, but by the imagination poured into it. Here, cheap becomes charming, discarded becomes delightful, and the everyday is elevated into art. The milk cans line the way not only for footsteps but for stories of renewal, creativity, and the enduring beauty of seeing possibility in the simplest of things. A gazebo is often the crown jewel of a garden, a place where shade meets serenity, where stories are shared and seasons admired. In this backyard retreat, its beauty has been elevated by the simplest of additions, painted milk cans standing proudly at each corner, brimming with flowers that celebrate autumn's glow. Once utilitarian, the milk cans now carry a new identity. Painted in farmhouse tones of rustic red, sage green, and creamy white, they echo the warmth of tradition while infusing a fresh vibrancy into the space. Their sturdy forms anchor the gazebo visually, while their painted surfaces catch the shifting light of the day, transforming with every glance. From each can, blooms spill gracefully. Chrysanthemums unfold in bold russet and gold, asters dot the air with purple hues, and marigolds burn brightly at the base, their petals like captured sunlight. The flowers lean outward, softening the strong lines of the cans, creating a harmony where structure and life coexist beautifully. Guests stepping into the gazebo pause at the sight, drawn by the charm of this rustic pairing. It feels both intentional and effortless, a reminder that elegance does not demand extravagance, only imagination. Each corner becomes not just a support, but a statement, framing the gazebo in color and texture that shifts with the breeze. As afternoon fades into evening, shadows lengthen across the stone patio, and lanterns begin to glow softly within the gazebo. The milk cans, still vibrant, take on a gentler tone, their colors muted under twilight, their flowers whispering of the day's passing. In that quiet moment, the cans embody more than decoration. They represent transformation, resilience, and the artistry of seeing value in the overlooked. Here, the gazebo corners tell a story, that a garden's grandeur is not found in size or cost, but in the thoughtful details that shape it. The recycled milk cans, once destined for obscurity, now stand as guardians of beauty, holding blossoms that brighten every gathering. They invite us to sit, to linger, to see the ordinary turned extraordinary. This simple act of placing painted cans at each corner has redefined the gazebo. It is no longer just a structure, but a living canvas, rooted in resourcefulness, framed in color, and alive with the spirit of autumn's bloom. In a world where gardens often mirror the land, this one dares to echo the sea. Along the edges of a small patio, recycled tin cans stand proudly, painted in the colors of waves and sand, turquoise, navy, sandy beige, and soft white. Their arrangement creates a seascape border, bringing the rhythm of tides into the stillness of the backyard. The cans shimmer gently under the daylight, their painted surfaces catching hints of blue sky above. Some bear hand-painted wave motifs, simple strokes that suggest motion and remind the onlooker of the ocean's endless song. Between them, Seashells and pebbles scatter across the soil, adding texture that grounds the design in coastal charm. Behind this border, fall flowers rise in vivid contrast. Chrysanthemums glow in golden rust, asters lift their purple heads toward the sun, and sedum blushes with its pinkish hue. Japanese anemones sway delicately, their pale petals dancing as though they, too, are moved by a breeze from the sea. Together, flowers and painted cans create a fusion where land and ocean meet, an unlikely yet enchanting harmony. Visitors notice the detail immediately. Some see it as playful, others as poetic, a seaside memory etched into the language of a garden. For those who have walked sandy shores or listened to waves under twilight skies, this border feels like an embrace of nostalgia, a small reminder that beauty often travels between worlds. As the day softens into evening, shadows stretch across the patio, and the blue-painted cans deepen in color. They no longer shine but hum quietly, their tones echoing the calm of the sea at dusk. In that fading light, the border whispers of journeys past, of shores remembered, of creativity that carries the ocean into a humble backyard. Here, the seascape edging is more than design, it is storytelling in form and color. Tin cans once destined for waste now evoke horizons, tides, and dreams. They frame the garden with resilience, artistry, and wonder. And so, within this small space, the sea comes home, not in waves that crash, but in borders that bloom, painted with imagination and alive with autumn's flowers. Some gardens whisper with subtle details, while others sing with contrasts. In this rustic corner, the border itself becomes a duet, a conversation between nature's strength and human creativity. Bamboo poles, straight and timeless, stand alongside recycled milk cans painted in tones of earth and farmhouse tradition. Together, they create a border that feels at once strong and playful, humble yet artistic. The bamboo brings texture, its natural golden grain glowing warmly in the sun. Tied with jute rope, it speaks of craft rooted in simplicity. Between these poles, painted milk cans bring color to the rhythm, terracotta echoing the soil, sage green mirroring leaves, cream brightening like autumn light. The alternating forms create a visual cadence, a pattern that pleases the eye and guides the gaze along the garden's edge. Behind this border, flowers thrive. Chrysanthemums stand tall, their petals layered in rich tones of gold and rust. Asters sprinkle purple stars among them, while sedum and Japanese anemones soften the composition with their delicate blooms. The plants spill gently over the cans and bamboo, blending the crafted border with the wild beauty it frames. The effect is striking, not because it demands attention, but because it feels balanced, like a friendship between materials. Visitors often pause to admire the interplay, the smoothness of bamboo against the painted metal, the softness of petals against the firmness of structure. What could have been waste and wilderness has become harmony. As the day wanes, the border glows differently. The bamboo takes on a honeyed tone under the late sun, while the painted cans reflect the warm colors of twilight. In the quiet of evening, lanterns flicker near the border, and the garden transforms into a rustic retreat, alive with both human touch and nature's grace. This mixed border is more than practical edging. It is storytelling in layers of resourcefulness that reimagines discarded milk cans, of tradition that honors bamboo, of artistry that sees beauty in blending the unexpected. It frames not just plants, but also the spirit of the garden itself, resilient, welcoming, and endlessly creative. Here, bamboo and milk can stand side by side, reminding us that strength and charm, utility and beauty, are often found together when we choose to see potential in what is near at hand. In the quiet language of a Japanese garden, every detail carries meaning, balance, harmony, and respect for nature. Along this tranquil pathway, recycled milk cans find a place, transformed into edging that whispers rather than shouts. Painted in muted tones of stone gray, moss green, and ivory, they merge seamlessly into the garden's calm spirit. The pathway itself is lined with gravel, punctuated by stepping stones that guide the steps slowly, deliberately. Along the edges, the painted cans stand in quiet rhythm, their round forms softened by the blooms they cradle. Chrysanthemums offer dignity in deep gold and bronze, while Japanese anemones lift pale petals with graceful simplicity. Asters and sedum complete the palette, their understated beauty blending into the calm composition. This edging is not about display, but about presence. The cans do not seek to dominate. They serve as companions to the stones, to the gravel, to the lanterns that glow softly in twilight. Their recycled nature carries humility, while their careful arrangement and muted paint honor the garden's timeless philosophy: nothing wasted, everything respected. Visitors stepping onto the path feel the invitation to slow down. The gentle contrast between gravel and painted cans suggests order, while the flowers bring softness. Together, they create a quiet tension, a living reminder that beauty often emerges where opposites meet: stone and bloom, metal and earth, restraint and flourish. As the breeze stirs, petals tremble lightly, and the cans reflect faint light from the setting sun. In that moment, the pathway feels alive yet still, a paradox only a Japanese garden can hold. What was once trash has become a thoughtful element of design, its transformation symbolic of resilience and renewal. This recycled edging speaks of more than thrift. It embodies a mindset, a willingness to see harmony where others see waste, to find balance in reimagined forms. The milk cans are no longer remnants. They are part of a greater whole, part of a sanctuary that celebrates both nature's grace and human imagination. Here, along this Japanese garden pathway, every step is framed by quiet artistry, every glance softened by blooms, and every detail enriched by the presence of simple cans reborn into purpose. Small patios carry a charm of their own, where intimacy becomes beauty and every detail matters. In this tiny space, the edges have been reimagined with recycled milk cans, their surfaces brushed in pastel hues that glow like whispers of spring even in autumn's embrace. Baby pink, mint green, sky blue, and butter yellow form a palette that feels playful, sweet, and irresistibly charming. The cans line the patio like gentle companions, their round forms softened by the flowers they cradle. Asters peek over their rims in violet tones, marigolds beam brightly in shades of gold and orange, while sedum spills delicately at their sides. Japanese anemones, with their pale blooms, complete the chorus, adding grace to the cheerfulness of the scene. Together, cans and flowers transform the patio into a picture of tenderness and delight. What makes this edging special is its scale. The cans, modest in height, do not overwhelm but complement the tiny patio, giving structure without stealing its intimacy. Their pastel paint is fresh yet gentle, suggesting joy without excess. It is the kind of design that feels both thrifty and enchanting, as though the garden itself were smiling softly at every visitor. A white wooden chair waits in the corner, draped with a cushion, inviting one to sit and linger. From here, the pastel border frames the patio like a painting, where every brushstroke of color feels intentional. The sunlight catches on the painted cans, casting soft glows that change as the day moves, while the flowers dance lightly in the breeze. Guests cannot help but pause at the sight. They often describe it as cute or sweet, but beneath those words lies admiration for how something so simple can create such warmth. The recycled cans, once discarded, have become vessels of happiness, their pastel tones turning practicality into poetry. As evening falls, the colors soften under twilight, and lanterns twinkle nearby. The patio transforms into a fairy tale corner. The border becomes more than edging, it becomes memory, a reminder of how even the smallest of spaces can hold infinite charm when imagination blooms. Here, pastel milk cans do not just edge a patio. They frame joy itself, gentle, colorful, and endlessly inviting. Autumn carries with it a quiet richness, a time when gardens glow in deeper tones and every bloom feels like a gift before the frost. Along this backyard edge, recycled tin cans stand as painted guardians of the season, framing a border where autumn joy sedum thrives in its full splendor. The cans, once dull and forgotten, now gleam with renewed life, painted in shades of burgundy, burnt orange, golden yellow, and moss green. They echo the colors of fallen leaves, of harvest baskets, of twilight skies. Aligned carefully, they form a rhythmic line that guides the gaze along the garden's edge, where sedum blooms in rounded clusters of pinkish red. The flowers spill gently over the painted cans, softening their sturdy forms. Autumn joy sedum, true to its name, seems to smile at the season, glowing against the rustic backdrop. Marigolds flicker beside them in golden light, asters scatter violet stars, and chrysanthemums layer the scene with texture and depth. It is a composition of warmth and balance, where recycled metal and living color embrace one another. Visitors often linger at this border, drawn by its harmony. The eye delights in the play of contrasts, the matte paint against the glossy leaves, the rigid form of cans against the organic sprawl of flowers. What could have been overlooked waste has become part of the garden's poetry, a bridge between resilience and beauty. In the late afternoon, the painted cans catch the fading sun, their surfaces glowing as if kissed by firelight. Shadows stretch across the soil, and the sedum heads shimmer like embers against the cool air. This is not just edging, it is a seasonal song, a frame that captures the spirit of autumn in every detail. The thrifty nature of the design only deepens its charm. For little cost, the garden has gained a border that feels thoughtful, fresh, and enduring. It shows how creativity turns limitation into abundance, how color and imagination can elevate even the simplest of forms. Here, autumn joy sedum and painted tin cans create a tableau of resilience, reminding us that beauty often comes at the turning of seasons, and that what is discarded can bloom again, full of life and joy, when given a place in the garden story. At the heart of a cottage garden, where paths cross and flowers mingle, a spiral takes shape, crafted not from stone or wood, but from humble milk cans reborn through imagination. Painted in rustic tones of cream, sage green, rustic red, and pale blue, the cans form a winding centerpiece that captures both the eye and the heart. The spiral begins small at the center, its coils expanding outward like a living pattern. Within each can, flowers bloom, asters with their purple stars, chrysanthemums layered in golden russet, sedum crowned in rosy clusters. As one walks around it, the spiral feels alive, shifting its rhythm with every angle, offering new perspectives of color and form. There is a harmony in its imperfection. The milk cans, with their brushed paint and subtle variations, carry the touch of human hands, while the flowers spill freely, softening the spiral's geometry. It is both structured and organic, a dance between order and wildness. Visitors are often drawn to walk slowly around it, tracing the spiral's path as though it were a meditation, each step accompanied by the fragrance and texture of blooms. The centerpiece does more than decorate, it transforms the space into a gathering point. Children chase around it, neighbors stop to admire, and gardeners find inspiration in its simplicity. Its rustic charm feels rooted in farmhouse tradition, yet its artistry is unmistakably fresh. As the day turns, sunlight moves across the spiral, igniting different hues. The pale blue cans glow cool in the morning. The rustic reds and burnt oranges burn warmly in the afternoon, while the cream reflects twilight softly in the evening. With each hour, the spiral offers a new experience, a garden alive not just with plants but with time itself. This spiral centerpiece tells a story of cycles, of reuse, of renewal, of seasons turning. What was once waste has become a symbol of continuity, echoing nature's own patterns. It reminds us that creativity need not be grand to be profound, that beauty often comes from the courage to see possibility in the ordinary. Here, in the cottage garden, the spiral stands not as a monument but as a celebration, a rustic frame for life's unfolding, where flowers and imagination bloom together endlessly. Steps are more than a way to move upward, they are moments of transition, thresholds between spaces. Here, the steps leading into a rustic pergola have been transformed into a celebration of color and imagination. Along each side, rows of painted milk cans form a vibrant edging, guiding the ascent with cheerful charm. The cans stand in rhythm, freshly painted in farmhouse tones. Cream softens the light, rustic red adds depth, sage green echoes the surrounding foliage, and sky blue brings a breath of openness. Each can is filled with flowers that spill outward, their blooms creating a cascade of texture that softens the stone beneath. Marigolds beam brightly in golden tones, asters bring playful purples, while chrysanthemums and sedum add layers of autumn richness. Japanese anemones sway at the edges, their pale petals fluttering as though to welcome each visitor. The steps no longer feel like stone, they feel like an entry into another world, framed by nature and crafted by hand. Guests approaching the pergola pause often, smiling at the transformation. What might have been bare and ordinary now feels alive, each step accompanied by bursts of color and fragrance. The recycled milk cans, once forgotten, have become vessels of greeting, their painted surfaces catching the sunlight and reflecting warmth. As the day unfolds, shadows stretch across the steps, creating shifting patterns between stone, paint, and petals. In the golden hour, the cans glow with a softness that feels almost magical, while the pergola beyond stands as a rustic crown, inviting rest beneath its beams. There is practicality here, but also poetry. The cans provide structure, holding soil and plants with strength, while their arrangement along the steps offers rhythm and direction. Their recycled nature speaks of resourcefulness, while their transformation into edging tells a story of beauty reborn. In this scene, the steps become more than a passage. They are part of the garden's voice, speaking of creativity, resilience, and joy. Visitors climbing them feel not only guided but embraced, welcomed into a pergola framed by both color and care. Here, the journey into the garden is elevated. Each painted can, each bloom, is a note in a song of transformation, a melody that turns simple steps into a story worth remembering. The front yard is the home's first greeting, and in this scene, the welcome is painted with color and imagination. Along the garden's edges, recycled milk cans stand tall, each one freshly coated in hues that sparkle with cheer: turquoise, sunflower yellow, coral red, and grass green. Their vibrancy mirrors the joy of a garden in bloom, turning the front yard into a living canvas. The cans line the flower beds with precision, their round forms offering both structure and rhythm. Within and around them, fall perennials rise in harmony, marigolds burn with golden light, asters scatter violet accents, chrysanthemums unfold their layered petals in russet and bronze, while Japanese anemones soften the palette with gentle pale tones. The pairing of bold paint and natural bloom creates an energy that feels abundant and welcoming. Passers-by cannot help but slow down. Some admire the thrifty creativity, others are drawn in by the playfulness of the colors. Children point excitedly, captivated by the garden's cheerful border. What was once trash has become treasure, not only as edging but as a story that brings warmth to the street. From the perspective of the homeowner, the transformation is profound. The front yard no longer feels like a simple space but like an expression of personality, a joyful declaration that beauty can be built from the simplest of materials. The painted cans, aligned with care, tell a story of resourcefulness, of seeing potential where others see waste. As the day moves, the colors shift with the light. In the morning sun, the pastels glow gently. By afternoon, the bold tones blaze against the green backdrop. At twilight, the entire border seems to hum softly, as though holding on to the last warmth of the day. The flowers echo these changes, their petals shimmering in the golden hour, their fragrance drifting across the path. Here, edging is no longer just practical. It is art, framed in recycled metal and painted dreams. The cans are not simply containers, they are companions to the blooms, guardians of the garden, storytellers at the boundary of home and world. In this colorful front yard, beauty greets every eye and reminds us, joy is often found not in what we buy, but in what we reimagine. Few flowers speak of autumn as powerfully as chrysanthemums. Bold, layered, and enduring, they bring a season of color when many blooms have faded. In this garden, they take center stage, framed beautifully by recycled tin cans transformed into a rustic border. The pairing feels natural, humble cans painted in seasonal tones, standing strong while chrysanthemums spill their glory above. The cans, once discarded, now gleam with new life in hues of burgundy, mustard, sage, and cream. Their rhythm along the edge creates a sense of order, grounding the garden while allowing the flowers to rise in abundance. Chrysanthemums in gold, bronze, and deep red seem to lean lovingly over the border, their heavy blossoms softening the structure of painted metal. The effect is striking yet welcoming. From the path, the border feels like a frame around a living painting, with every chrysanthemum petal a brushstroke of autumn's palette. Visitors pause, captivated by the contrast, sturdy recycled cans at the base, lush blossoms towering just behind. What could have been waste now becomes both support and stage for the season's most iconic flower. As daylight shifts, the colors transform. In morning light, the soft tones of sage and cream highlight the delicacy of the blooms. By afternoon, burgundy and mustard cans glow warmly, echoing the fiery hues of the chrysanthemums. At twilight, the flowers and cans seem to merge into one tapestry of shadow and flame, whispering of the passing season yet radiant in resilience. This border is more than decoration. It is a conversation between endurance and beauty, between the recycled strength of tin and the fleeting glory of blossoms. It celebrates thrift and imagination, showing that artistry does not require newness but vision. The chrysanthemums, framed so thoughtfully, seem to thank their unlikely companions. Their heavy heads rest gently above the painted cans, as if acknowledging the support that allows them to shine. Together, they create a scene that feels timeless, both rustic and elegant, farmhouse and cottage. In this garden, chrysanthemums are not simply planted, They are honored, elevated by recycled cans that once carried ordinary things. Now, they carry color, memory, and meaning, turning the garden border into a place of celebration where autumn lives in full bloom. Fences are often seen as boundaries, but here they have been reimagined as canvases of creativity. Along this rustic backyard fence, junk milk cans have found new life as fence posts, their tops painted with playful patterns that turn the ordinary into a gallery of color. Each can has been carefully chosen and given fresh coats of paint. Sunflower yellow, sky blue, coral red, and sage green form the base palette, while the tops carry contrasting motifs, stripes, floral designs, and simple geometric shapes. The result is a line of posts that feels less like a barrier and more like a celebration, guiding the eye along the garden's edge with cheerful rhythm. Behind this vibrant border, flowers bloom generously. Marigolds burst with golden fire, asters sprinkle purple stars, chrysanthemums stand proud in russet tones, and Japanese anemones add softness with their pale petals. The blooms rise above the fence, framing the cans and turning the entire fence line into a living artwork. The effect is both rustic and whimsical. From afar, the painted tops gleam like lanterns, catching the sun during the day and reflecting its fading glow at dusk. Up close, the brushstrokes tell of care and imagination, of hands that saw possibility in what others might discard. The imperfections, slight drips of paint, uneven strokes, only add to the charm, echoing the handmade soul of the garden. Visitors often linger by the fence, running their hands along the painted tops, smiling at the unexpected beauty of junk reborn. Children especially are enchanted, pointing to patterns and colors, treating the fence not as a boundary but as a playful storybook wall. As the day draws to evening, the painted tops glow warmly under the soft lantern light that hangs nearby. The cans, once destined for obscurity, now stand tall as part of the garden's identity, guardians not just of the yard, but of creativity itself. This design speaks to thrift, to artistry, to the joy of seeing beyond the obvious. Junk cans are no longer junk, they are vessels of beauty, markers of imagination, and proof that even fences, symbols of separation, can become bridges of color and delight. In this backyard, every painted top tells a story, and together, they weave a border where rustic spirit meets artistic wonder.